Yeah, there are some new photos available, but I wanted to make a special note with this one because this is a pretty major change where I've switched over from X audio to port audio for the game's sound, and I just wanted to caution anybody who is trying it. Like I wouldn't use headphones. I wouldn't blast it at least immediately. I would test it first and see how it goes because you got to figure this is a brand new audio engine essentially. Um, if there's some bug or something that makes it play loud static or something, I don't want anybody damaging their hearing or anything. Screwing around with it. So I just wanted to put out that disclaimer on this version of the game. It's actually it's actually a pretty significant set of changes in this one because not only does it have the new sound system, but I also rewrote some of the stage collision code just because I was never really happy with the diagonal colliders in the game, and so they're a lot smoother now when a character bumps into a diagonal wall. Even when you're playing, like in you're not playing with floating point movement. The diagonal movement of the character is super smooth. But there are like a lot of really nice changes though with the sound stuff. Where another really interesting thing is that I'm now only loading the music into RAM if you actually have the volume, set above zero. And so, because that's kind of the funny thing. I mean, that's kind of the irony. I mean, for all the work that I put into the audio stuff, I mean, honestly, most of the time when I play, I'm just listening to music and I have the game fucking muted, which is kind of funny. So you figure if you're gonna play like that, like why even waste, loading the shit into RAM. So it has that feature as well, and see, and something too that I really need to just like sit down and go through it because I can do it now because now with the way the audio works, I have like really fine grained control over all the audio stuff, and so what I could do is I could actually set specific loop points in each one of the audio tracks. So for basically for like the non-Sega CD tracks, I could make them to seamlessly loop because the original arcade and 68K and Super Nintendo and so on soundtracks. I mean they can just seamlessly loop. They were ripped off of the Final Fight soundtrack collection, and so there's like a fade out at the end of them, but they technically don't really need to fade out. If I set loop points, I could just make them seamlessly repeat, and so I really should do that. I've just been too lazy to go through and identify good loop points to set. I mean that would actually be something where somebody could help me with that. If you could just tell me like these are the exact moments in time that the tracks actually like loop, and I could just go in there and set that would actually be a help. So in any case, you enjoy the photos. Yeah, I mean there are just just like a bunch of just minor changes in there. I also did some just minor tweaks to certain things. Like for example, like with Sodom and some other characters, I changed it so that you can chain his weak and strong attack into his charge attacks now. Before you couldn't seamlessly chain those, or interrupt one to another. But yeah, so it's just minor changes here and there, other than the audio stuff. But yeah, the audio thing was a really big change, and oh god, I didn't even go into all this, but basically there's a new configuration option where you can set the program to run in exclusive audio mode now, and if you do that, it's kind of like the low latency audio stuff when you use port audio and MAME, where it'll basically just use the lowest latency that it possibly can. So you should be able to get like a really low latency out of this. Yeah, and that actually is, I didn't want this to be this long, but I'm rambling. The the advantage that you have with like a real PC game as opposed to emulation. See, the problem with emulation is when you're emulating a machine, you don't know ahead of time what the machine is going to do, right? Like if you're emulating a Neo Geo, you don't know ahead of time. Like, okay, like well you know, the person using the machine, what are they going to do? Which samples are they going to trigger playing? You know, what's going to happen? They don't know ahead of time. So basically, you inherently have a lot of latency there because you have to buffer everything. You know, you have to basically say like, well, based on what the machine is doing, I'm going to buffer this many milliseconds worth of audio, and then send it out to something like port audio and play it and all that, blah blah blah. But see, like the superpower that you have when you make a native game, like something like Final Fight, is that I know ahead of time, all the possible samples that can possibly play. Like I know ahead of time, and so essentially, what I do in the game is, I just put all the audio just straight into RAM, and then with the port audio callback, you're basically just ripping that shit just straight out of RAM. Just basically say like, yeah, somebody wanted to play a certain sound effect, and so just starting at this position, with in memory, just start playing the fucking audio file. Like basically, it isn't even possible to have buffer overruns or underruns or anything like that, because you're always just ripping that shit straight off the RAM. It's impossible. Like you'll never have a buffer overflow or not overflow under overflow there. It's just impossible because it's just always there. It's always in memory. And so it's just yet another reason that, like I said, long term emulation just isn't it. It's not it. It's not the answer. Like we can do better, and more and more games are getting ported. I don't know if other people saw this, but there's a PC port of the PlayStation 1 Crash Bandicoot now. Zelda 3, Super Metroid, Super Mario World, they're already almost done. I say it's not even going to be that long before most of the good games are done. Honestly, after I'm done with Samurai Shodown 2, if I did like Street Fighter 2 and maybe like one of the Mortal Kombats, I don't even really know if I would miss MAME after that. I honestly don't. Because it's like really, that's basically all I play in MAME anyway. There really aren't that many games. There really aren't. So in any case, enjoy the photos.